Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. You know what's really funny? Is that for some reason this Lone Gunman review, it keeps on getting put off for some reason. Like we rammed through the X-Files series up to the Lone Gunman, and then all of a sudden, like with the short series, it just completely paused us. And Safi, she's really busy this evening with something that she really didn't need to do, and I just won't say anything more about that. Usually on Mondays it's Better Call Saul night, so we have food out, but for some reason she had to make something at home, and it takes a lot of work, and so she basically can't do the Lone Gunman review. And so for this one time, I'm just going to do a video, and yet again, Goosebumps books are perfect emergency reviews, and it's nice to review them because it'd be really cool to discuss them all, and it's cool to finally read them. I always loved the covers as a kid, and I always wondered what is in these books. There must be some crazy stuff that happens in these books, because the covers, they're so they don't look like kids' covers. They look like covers for some scary books. So I always wondered. I never really got into reading them until now. And I read Don't Go to Sleep a couple of months ago. It reminded me a lot of Young Scrooge, except worse. It was really not my cup of tea. I liked the episode in a good bad way. I was kind of expecting the book to be better than the episode, because the episode was so cheesy and goofy. The thing with him marrying this ugly woman, and she has warts on her face, and she really weird stuff. And what else? Being a brain surgeon for the president, being in a professional hockey game, some really crazy situations. It is nothing like the book. Now, the book is not very good. It's just nowhere near as good as the episode, and that was what came to me as a shock. The book was, it starts off pretty good. I mean, it starts off in a way where it's this is entertaining, I guess. It's not as great as it could be. It's not the best story, but it's on a good note so far. You have the dynamic where he's in the middle and he's got these shitty siblings, and typical Goosebumps story. He's got this bitch older sister and this fucking creepy older brother or whatever, and they have this weird thing, though, this very weird thing where the kids and the mom, they switch who makes dinner on certain nights. And so this one night, the main kid, Matt, he helps make this weird Chinese dinner that he described it as gross because Matt made it, and he didn't put much effort into it because he's a kid. He's 12, he's not a Master Chef Junior. He is a Goosebumps character, which is pretty bad. I would not want a kid from Goosebumps to cook my food for dinner. Speaking of cooking dinner, so that is the story so far, and I honestly thought that was weird. It was another thing with the mac and cheese thing from Calling All Creeps, where it's what kid doesn't like macaroni and cheese? It's and so the Chinese dinner thing, that was weird too. The fact that these kids, they switch responsibilities for cooking dinner, very, very strange. They said something on the Wikipedia page, because I had to refresh my memory. They said something about he just helped her make dinner. But I can clearly remember in the book that he cooked dinner himself, and he had all this gross frozen stuff, and like, ugh. So the plot of this book is that he wants to sleep in the guest bedroom because it's bigger than his bedroom. And I kind of know how that feels like a little bit, you know. When I grew up in my brother's old room that he had as a kid. And when he got older, he moved into this bigger room with the shag carpet. And I had always wanted to be in that room, kind of, because it made me feel cool that I was, like, you know, in the room that my bigger brother was in. And he had friends in there, and he played video games. It was like a cool hangout room. And so I kind of got the idea of this kid wanting to be in that room. The weird thing, though, is that it's a guest room. Like, he doesn't have any personal attachment to it. At least with my brother's room, I liked it because I played video games in there and all that stuff, you know, and even the window, you know, he'd like to climb out the window and eat food on the roof and stuff like that. And so I have more of a reason to want to be in that room besides just the general fact that it's bigger. The majority of the book, so he wakes up and somehow in the guest room, he falls through a hole in reality. That's reality. Remember that from the show with the fucking Men in Black, and they had that fucking reality rap song that was so bad, but so good at the same time. He wakes up as a teenager, then he wakes up and he's like a monster or something, then he wakes up and the room doesn't belong to him and it's not even his house. And then he wakes up again and he's like a squirrel or something. Like, it's really weird. The book is very low stakes, though. Like, a lot of the book just feels like a straight up comedy. You know, there's not really much dark stuff that happens. There's not very many interesting situations, like in the episode at least. The whole concept of the book, you know, don't go to sleep. It's a strange story. It's just a very strange plot. Because you look at the cover even, and you see this kid, and there's like a monster arm grabbing him from under the bed. You'd think that maybe there's like a monster who represents reality, and he's going to chase this kid around through the different universes and make everything like a living hell. Or something. I don't know. You know, it's not my job to come up with the story. Especially this one, where I don't even really get the concept to begin with. You know, he falls through a hole in reality so he can change reality, and he's breaking the rules. Like, really? Really? You know, really? Is it really that simple? Because if so, he doesn't really bother to, like, change things to where it's realistic, like in a dream. You know, how many times has someone dreamed about being a squirrel? How many times has someone dreamed about going to high school when they're in grade school? I never had that happen, ever. Ever. The only things that I did, I had some really weird dreams, to be fair. Okay, like, I had like this one dream where like a serial killer was chasing me through like this tunnel system made out of like broken up pieces of scrap cardboard, and he had a knife and he wanted to kill me. And then I had another dream where I was like with my mom and we were in this giant like dark brown room, and we pulled on this rope, and it was like some weird golden rope. And then I had like a dream where there was this alien booger attached to my leg. And like, see, those are some weird dream-style situations that you'd expect to have in a dream. They're nowhere near like the situations in this book where it's like, okay, I'm a teenager now. Oh no, school's hard. High school's hard. Oh no. Like, the Goosebumps books are about escaping real life. Like, you're supposed to be escaping, and instead it's this weird thing where it's such a low-stakes book. It almost feels like R.L. Stine wrote this in a couple of hours, and he really had to get a book done, and he just couldn't figure one out, so he had to get this one done, crank it out really fast, and turn it in, get the paycheck. Because I really don't see this book as being a story worth telling. To begin with, the story on the cover is better than the story in the book, which is a common thing in this series. But that being said, I don't know. And then you have the thing with, there are these men in black, and they're chasing this kid down because he's breaking the rules of reality, and they don't really get anything accomplished at all in comparison to the episode where they practically, they're the villains of the episode, really. And then he's in a reality trial at the end with this weird, ugly, creepy monster judge. But the men in black in this book, they don't really get anything accomplished. They just kind of chase them around. They're kind of there in the background, goofy side characters. They don't really do much of anything. And so you'd think that in their, we don't know how long these guys have been reality police. That's another question. So number one, why is it in his guest room he fell through a hole in reality? Like, what happened in the guest room? Okay? That's a good question. Could have had a simple explanation. Matt, why would you want to sleep in the guest room? That is where someone was murdered in the 1800s with a fucking axe. They were axed to death in the guest room. Why would you want to sleep there on a nightly basis, you little shit? Go make me some some dinner. Chicken dinner. Like, they could have done something like that, a typical horror cliche. Somebody was murdered in that room. It's scary. Don't go in there. It could have been that simple. And I still would have been like, how does that make a hole in reality? But it would have been something. But there was no way that he didn't attempt to explain that at all. Number two, what is up with those reality police? How long have they been doing it? Because if they've been reality police ever since reality existed, you'd think that by now they'd know how to take care of people who go through this thing where they fall through reality holes, and so these police, they have to catch them. That's their whole fucking job. That's their entire job, is to catch these reality fallers. So, like, they're failing at the only thing they have to do in the whole universe. Because as far as I know, they don't even really exist. Or if they do exist, how did they get to the point where they could become reality police? And that just begs the question of, if they're regular people and they somehow break through reality all the time, what gives them the right to break the rules and to go through all these realities? So see, there is a lot of stuff in this book that just doesn't make any sense. This book is just a goofy kid's book. It's very kiddie. It's very, very kiddie. Which is sad, because I was really looking forward to reading this one. And I know I say that a lot, but with this one, I was hoping it'd be an improvement on the episode, and it just wasn't. It was nowhere near as good as the episode. And then there was this one really weird part where Matt becomes a squirrel, and he's running on the street. He's like a rabid wild squirrel. And this girl picks him up and puts him in a cage in her room. And it's like, hey, in what universe would someone pick up a wild squirrel, just a random wild squirrel running on the street? Why would they pick that thing up and put it in their room? What parents would allow their kids to do that unless they knew that it was safe to handle that squirrel? You know, it just, more questions. So basically the whole story with him in these universes is that he has to go back to that room to sleep so that he can wake up in the regular room somehow. Like, that's another thing. How does he know that plan will work for sure? Maybe he should do something else. Like, talk to the fucking reality police. Like, excuse me, if there's some reality police walking around, I want to talk to them about reality. I want to say, hey, I just wanted to sleep in my guest room, guys. Like, is that really so bad that I wanted to sleep in another room? You know, what if their relatives came to stay for Christmas, and they slept in the guest room and fell through a reality hole? You know, like, would it be their problem and their fault? They did something bad, that these men in black would be like, you're bad people. You know, it's just stupid. But the fact that you have these reality police, they would know how to take him back to his reality, hopefully. Like, since that's their only thing that they have that they do and take care of. So the whole thing with him not going up to them, he just runs away from them. Like, just really, ugh. This book is bizarre. I would give it a D+, because I could still read it, I guess. I mean, I enjoyed it a little bit in the sense that it's like, okay, there's nothing really infuriating happening, like in like Monster Blood 2 and 3 and 4, where they won't let Andy and Evan get together. You know, I get pissed off when I think about that, because I think, like, if I were in charge of that series, they would have been together by now. I mean, they would have already, they would have gotten together and gotten married and stuff like that. Like, I would have had, like, a dream sequence where they're married, and then Monster Blood, they got, like, Monster Blood children or something. Like, you know, something weird shit like that I'd do in a Monster Blood dream sequence. But anyways, that is my review of Don't Go to Sleep. I would recommend don't read this book, okay? Go to sleep, but don't read this book because it's crap. It's really crappy. So, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of Don't Go to Sleep, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more reviews of Goosebumps books. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.